Thank you, Chrissy, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming along and hearing the Caspin Resources story. So, Caspin, a bit of an introduction. We are an exploration company. Two projects at the grassroots stages of exploration in what we consider to be very strategic areas. Our Yarrawinda Brook project, our Mount Squires project in sort of frontier regions of Western Australia. I would describe us as an active company. We're always out there having a crack, even in what we consider to be down markets. We always need to be offering our shareholders a chance for discovery, because no matter the state of the market, discovery is the real value driver to create shareholder wealth in our industry. And there have been plenty of case histories of companies with discoveries in down markets that have gone on to produce fantastic shareholder wealth. I would describe us as diligent. We pride ourselves on good geoscience. Last year, 2023, was quite an active year for us. We spent 80% of our spend went into the ground, as we say, or on direct exploration costs. And since we've listed, we've had over $500,000 worth of EIS or WA government contributions towards our exploration. And that is going towards essentially critical battery metals, which is really our core focus. A bit of a corporate overview. This slide hasn't changed too much, except in the last sort of 6 months. We've got a bit more of a more streamlined board, but most of our major shareholders are still there. A shout out to Chalice Mines, who are a great supporter of ours, and Tinci Limited, a Shenzhen chemical company. They sort of specialise in battery chemicals, battery precursor chemicals. Shenzhen listed, and another great supporter. I guess what has changed over the last 12 months is obviously our value proposition. And so we'll talk about both projects. Both kind of have an equal billing within the portfolio, within the company. Our Mount Squires project out in the frontiers of the West Musgrave, primarily a nickel and copper project, but there's also fantastic opportunities for other commodities out there as well. And of course, the Yarrawinda Brook project just up the road from us here in Perth, only an hour or two's drive. So we'll talk about Yarrawinda first, primarily because this is where our exploration today is focused on. It's impossible for me to talk about Yarrawinda without having that context of Chalice. Now, hopefully some of you saw Alex's presentation on Wednesday. A fantastic discovery. I know the gloss has probably come off a little bit in the last few months, but that is a fantastic discovery, and we are unashamedly looking for something exactly the same. I would love to give our shareholders the chance to enjoy that sort of success, which produces multiples of returns on where our current value proposition sits. We have changed focus a little bit in terms of what we're exploring for, and we'll get into that in a second. And we're also keeping in mind open on the lithium potential in this part of the world as well. So that new target is really our Brassica prospect, and it is essentially a lookalike target on the Gonaville deposit. The 2023 was really focused on the Yarrabrook Hill and Cerradella prospects, sort of in the central part of the project area. And the reality with being a small company is you can't do everything all at once, and we put all our effort into that prospect. And some of the more obvious or other potential prospective areas were put onto to the back burner. One of those was Brassica. Our geological team have done a great job in working up this target. It's very much the same geological setting as Gonaville, but bearing in mind that it's a mirror image, if you like, or a reflection of the Gonaville setting. But essentially, the Brassica has this nice intrusive geology structure, architectural structure, in roughly the same sort of position as where Gonaville sits. And as you can see on the right-hand side, it is the same stratigraphic belt of mafic and ultramafic rocks that stretches up 40 kilometres away from Gonaville. Now, The benefit of this project is we have had some previous exploration over here, over this target. That initial exploration actually goes back to the 80s, where there's a bit of patchwork quilt of previous RAB drilling, so very shallow drilling, just drilling through the weathered zone. That did provide some indications of mineralised systems, both PGEs, nickel and copper. Our team has been out on the ground and mapped, done soil sampling, field reconnaissance, and confirmed that those mafic and ultramafic rocks that we want are actually on the ground. Back in 2020, we flew this area with airborne EM, which is a great first pass tool for doing a quick reconnaissance of an area for a conductor. But unfortunately, the penetration of those airborne EM systems is quite shallow. Probably only, in this part of the world, probably only about 100 metres. Nevertheless, that did develop a number of conductors, and more recently we've reprocessed that, pushed the data harder, and generated another 11 conductors that warrant further investigation. And that's really been the motivation for getting on the ground today, as we speak, and doing a ground EM survey, moving loop survey using high-powered squid technology to see if we can penetrate that further. And what we're really looking for is massive sulphide. The key to Yarrawinda Brook, and in fact the key to the region, if you remember, Alex spoke about high grading the Gonaville resource, but high grade being the key. And so we are looking for higher grade mineralisation, which generally speaking means you're looking for massive sulphide, and EM techniques, electromagnetic techniques, are the tool to use to go and find those type of ore bodies. The guys have been out there. There's a photo of the crew, Gem Geophysics, shout out to them, doing work on the ground, looking for those sort of conductors right now, and that program will run for another week or so. Now, it's not just, there's a suite of different prospects still in the project area. As I said, most of our work last year focused on Yarrawinda and, Yarrabrook Hill and Serradella. I guess that exploration was pointing us further down dip. Now, I'll concede it's not really the market to go drilling deep holes. So our exploration strategies has switched more to looking for near-surface opportunities. And there are still near-surface opportunities at Serradella. There are some EM conductors close to surface where mineralisation is along strike. We got some fantastic grades at Serradella last year and a sort of a relatively narrow, higher grade lode, reasonably low, shallow, but still open. And so that remains an interesting target for us when the time is right. But we've also done soil geochemistry beyond that, and we're developing another interesting target at the Balansa prospect further to the north as well. So many targets still to be explored here at Yarrawinda. There's probably another 30% of the project that hasn't had any exploration done on it at all, and a lot of that's got to do with the competing land use with agriculture. So it's only in recent times that people have been willing to cooperate with farmers and get on the ground and work with them and explore this kind of terrain. And along the way, you do get surprises. And so lithium, look, some people would probably say we're a bit late to the party. I would say actually we're a little bit early, because this is something, what we're looking for is not the same, it's not your Pilbara pegmatite lithium sort of thing. What we're looking for is the Greenbushes style of model. Now, Greenbushes is the granddaddy of lithium deposits sitting down in the southwest. There's only one. It seems it's so unlikely that there's only one of Greenbushes style deposit in the southwest. And the beauty of what we've done so far is that our exploration can be tailored or looked through a different lens to a lithium sort of perspective. And sure enough, the pathfinders to lithium are all there. So essentially, tin, tantalum, cesium, tungsten, these are all pathfinders. You don't necessarily go looking for lithium directly because lithium, highly mobile in a strongly weathered environment, it leaches quite readily. If you want an example of this, Atlantic Lithium in Ghana had a very similar sort of situation. Their initial surface samples were pretty modest, only hundreds of ppm. It wasn't until they got beneath the weathering zone where they started seeing the 1% type grades in their lithium. And sure enough, guys out there mapping these systems have found pegmatitic looking kind of rocks that are anomalous in lithium. Actually, interestingly, just outside of what appears to be the sort of main core area, what we want to focus on is where those important structures, also the structures that can drive magmatic intrusive emplacement, where they cut suitable host rocks, metasediments, is the place to go looking for lithium. So we'll continue to keep an open mind to this. We'll chip away at it. It's a bit of a slow burn. SQM are in the neighbourhood with a joint venture partner just across the border. They're looking to drill some targets shortly, so we'll be monitoring this, and it's another potential value add for our company. And so on to the Mount Squires project. Very different terrain, obviously, but still the same sort of strategy. Looking for nickel copper systems predominantly. Out in the West Musgrave region, but keeping an open mind as to what else you might find when you go out exploring in this part of the world. I guess it is a difficult part of the world to explore. Some people are put off by the remoteness. We've definitely got a competitive advantage in dealing in these type of regions. The Nunda people are a great Indigenous group to work with. We've enjoyed working with them. And as you can see, we haven't been impeded at all. We've been able to get on the ground and do some really interesting work. We've found an interesting rare earth discovery, which we'll talk about, and there's also some gold kicking around out there as well. But the Nebo Babel sort of lookalike is what we're looking for here. And, as Ed sort of, it's an interesting time in nickel. The announcement by BHP last night about their nickel business is kind of interesting. It doesn't faze me at all. Nebo Babel isn't going away. It was found back in early 2000, so it's been 20 years in the making so far. I think when that mine is built, it'll actually be right down the low end of the cost curve. So I think it'll kind of survive these sort of nickel downturns. And in fact, if we were to digress a little bit, the real way to overcome Indonesian nickel is actually to go and find new deposits. Near surface, we're not looking for nickel at 1,500, 1,800 metres below surface, and then extracting that with new modern technologies. So exploring out the frontiers for nickel and, admittedly polymetallic systems, copper and PGEs is really the way to go. And so we're out there, we're doing that work. Along the way, we have happened to come across an interesting rare earth discovery. They were called Duchess. We kind of jagged it a little bit. But what's really interesting is it's the only style of this mineralisation in Australia. We call it a hydrothermal volcanic system. So it's structurally controlled, massive hydrothermal system that is upgrading an already elevated rare earth rhyolite rock, a felsic rock, and then concentrating it into these narrow veins. Now that's open in every direction. And importantly, it's got heavy rare earths, and that's the important part in the rare earth story. Everybody's got NdPr, not everybody's got dysprosium and terbium, and that's where the real value is. It's much more valuable than the NdPr. So we're investigating, we're doing some early stage site metallurgical work. We would look to do either a chemical or a mineral concentrate, and that work is ongoing. But it will be all about, can you recover the heavy rare earths? That's the point of difference. So Mount Squires is more of a wintertime kind of program for us. Yarrawinda at the moment, but then we'll pivot into Mount Squires and continue that search for the next Nebo Babel. fantastic polymetallic systems. Keep an eye on the rare earths. That metallurgical test work could really open up this area for extraction. And then keep also an open mind onto that gold systems. It's really a bit of a unique kind of setting for gold mineralisation, but another fantastic opportunity for us. You think that'll be enough? All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's so much to talk about. I could talk about here for another half an hour, but I'm going to get yanked. Come see us outside. Thank you.